Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of Astronomy from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more
And we definitely
information.
say blessed love to each and every one. Blessed love, royal family. Give thanks for your presence with us. Of course, in all good doings and sayings, we give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Kadamawi, Emperor Haile Selassie I. We glorify Negus and Agas, give thanks for such the Savior of the world, Madani Alam. We do greet you in peace. Ask for such guidance in such word sound, which is power. Ask for such energy with the zeal that has been embedded in our hearts to bring forth words of righteousness and upfulness and inspiration to those that will hear. Give thanks again to the life giver and the keeper of life. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari, blessed love to one and all. We give thanks, special edition of Rasta Around the Table this evening. Somewhat like Rasta across the table, but we definitely have a nice meditation we want to share with you. The moment may be even a bit short this evening, but it's definitely going to be spicy. And I know many who are coming in may be scoping the title, and it's not that myself and King Cypher Selassie want to be mischievous, but the subject area is a very important subject area. It has to do with psychology and where our people are. And of course, no offense to anyone, but when we see one of our prominent shepherds, maybe not purposely, but somewhat inadvertently leading the sheep a bit off of the track, we have to step in and really say a word. Because if that's why many people step in and say a word, because they believe sometimes I may be saying something they don't agree with. Nothing wrong. Everyone have their own opinion. But for sure, this is why we brought this subject to the front line. Yes, so this evening, as I said, myself and King Cypher Selassie, my Lord, blessed love to the eye.
Yes, beloved Rastafari, give thanks for the life and the giving of life. Kadamari Haile Selassie. Yes, I, my hail Shafredi, light of this world, Yes, and I give thanks to Empress Menen and greet all of the family who are here listening. Give thanks.
My Lord, give thanks, give thanks. Joy, yes, I. Well, as you know, as I said, we have a special Rasta round table this evening, myself and the I, you know. I mean, I know we were engaged in some high reasoning a moment ago, but we decided that we have to touch upon this subject here that we're going to touch upon now in the interest of the psychology of our people. But I just wanted to remind the family that tomorrow evening at this time, we will be sitting with the Honorable Priest Kailash Leons. And of course, we will be speaking of all things health and wellness. Again, all things health and wellness. And the focus will be on the man. The focus will be on prostatic health, the prostate specifically. And of course, you know, the Honorable Priest Kailash Leons is the creator of the product known as Prosperity, which definitely is designed to fortify the prostate of the man. So he will be with us, scheduled for the 9th of July, 8 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. And of course, remember all of those who desire to ask the great physician himself any questions definitely germane to the subject area, please send us an email, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. That's priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. And definitely we will be more than happy to present the Honorable Priest with those questions. Beautiful. Yes, as I said, the focus will be on the man. And for sure, let me just remind each and everyone, make sure that you subscribe because the time is at hand, eh? And don't wait until it's too late. Well, to be honest, it's never too late. Yeah. When we launch the 1st of August, this is going to be a movement that will never stop. I'm talking about brand new, online, fully digital, Kidemi the magazine, definitely coming straight out of the halls of the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, the 1st of August 2024. As I said, fully loaded, just like any magazine should be for the best results. Yeah, interviews and articles and features and special features and calendar of events and you know, special corners for the young ones and so many different things within the magazine. And as I highlighted before, digital, so it's more than just a read. Digital, it's video. Digital is audio. Digital is all sort of things. Press a button and you'll see what opens digital. So give thanks. I'm talking about Kidemi the magazine. You know, we stress the Demi, the magazine, talking about brand new, the 1st of August. Beautiful. Now, Brother Cypher Selassie, I wanted, even before we go too deep into any discussion here, um, you know, the good brother, His Holiness, the Abuna Matthias. This is a subject area I would have brought up before, in fact, not too long ago, but since we're seated together, I think, you know, it would be important for us maybe to speak of it in a more, if you want to say, intellectual fashion, especially the understanding that we have and the importance of the mind frame of our people. And again, with all due respect, all due respect to the Abuna. Let me be very clear about that in his capacity and as a man, although I may have never met him. Again, with all due respect, I cannot say that more, but we need to examine. He did an interview with the sister from BBC, Sister Zenabe Badawi, and the interview was on the History of Africa series of documentary. And she was questioning the Abuna as it relates to the color of Christ, the ethnicity, basically. And before I even run it, she said that, well, she noticed that in Ethiopia, we have a lot of basically black Christ, with the afro. She says a soft afro and brown skin, but black Christ. And why is that? And he's saying now, and the thing is, before that, in all honesty, even when you observe the documentary, she would have visited many other parts of Ethiopia, and it's not always a black Christ. In fact, many places you see what would be the regular known Jesus Christ. And he went on to say that Christ was really um, Jewish, which is white people, and we should leave him as that. So that's just in a nutshell. I'll let him speak for himself, and then we can discuss it. This is, again, courtesy of the History of Africa with Zainab Badawi. This is episode 5, The Rise of Aksum.
So in all pictures of Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ is always depicted as brown-skinned with soft African hair, really, because that's very different from how he is depicted in European paintings.
Well, of course, some people do the Ethiopian face. They make the picture like their own people. For example, in the Caribbean islands make like their own face, dark color. But we believe that Jesus Christ is born from Jews, these white people. It's not important to change the face, the whiteness. So.
But you're surrounded by paintings of both Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary, looking like Ethiopians, brown with a soft afro.
They do people, but essentially also Israelites. So it's not very important to change the face of our Lord Jesus Christ and Saint Mary, because they are Jews. They are Jewish.
And give thanks to the Abuna for that. And I would not even stay too long on my commentary, only, just to bring a little clarity also to what was said. So clearly, this is something that he has some strong emotional ties to, and he began by saying, well, a lot of people in Ethiopia really, draw or paint the Christ figure to look like them. And he said that when you go and you travel throughout the Caribbean, which is something that stumps me up to this day. Say when you travel throughout the Caribbean, you notice the Caribbean people draw Christ and Mary like them. And I think the Sister Zainab was saying in the background, dark or brown, something of the sort. And he said, yes. And I myself, I would have traveled the Caribbean myself. I was born around here. That's where I'm speaking to you. I don't know what they're talking about. No offense to them. When it comes to Caribbean people, I grew up seeing what's going on in the church, and Jesus has ever been lily white as Jesus is today. But anyway, putting that point aside, that to me, that's a next discussion. Maybe that's something I don't know about. I would have been to almost every Caribbean island, So that would have missed me. That's all I'm saying. No offense to both of them. Now, then he went on to make his point clear that Christ and his mother are Israelites. They're Jewish people. So they should just leave them as they are. And then she went on to say, well, but you're surrounded with all of these different pictures of the Christ, and of course the Black Mother, the Black Madonna, the Black Mother. And then he came in again. Basically, this is why I say you could see a strong emotional tide. I could hear it when he said, "Well, listen, if it doesn't make any sense to change it. They are Jewish, white people, and they should just leave them as they are." And I said, "Wow, that is something else." So I would not say even too much at the moment, you know. I would just open the floor to the good brother King Cypher Selassie and hear his whole rendition and what has been said. Yes, my Lord, blessed Lord, give thanks.
Yes, Farah son, give thanks. Well, what an interview. Yes. Well, as the ayah's already said, you know, about the black images being in the Caribbean is just indicative of really a lack of knowledge. I mean, really, I mean that, you know, generally as people who travel the world and what experience they have outside of Ethiopia or whatever. I mean, I don't know where that man has ever been, but he's probably limited in scope to have that idea, you know, that is happening in the Caribbean, and then even to spread it even larger into the idea that the people of Israel, you know, are white people.
Yeah,
When
it's heavy.
I think if you said to a child, you know, how is it there's an island of white people in the middle of all these brown people? I mean, that was one thing I always used to think as a child. How is it possible that these set of white people are in the middle of a land of brown people and black people? Because there are indigenous people of those areas in Palestine and all of those places, black African people. They say they've got history there for hundreds and thousands of years. So it's a lack of world education, I would say. You know, it's quite limiting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's I think it's a result of not actually even though they know about, you know, since Italy invaded Ethiopia and in 1896 and then invaded Ethiopia in 1935 again, they're not really aware of the outside world. You know, they've lived in isolation, realistically. And until 1975, when His Majesty's government was displaced, the people then started to go to the diaspora, the people of Ethiopia, you know, as refugees, etc. And they started to go to America and Britain and Sweden and France and Germany, that, you know, all about the place. So it is then that they started to get a real flavor of what it's like outside of their insulated world, I think, you know. And they haven't got the same mindset. They don't have the same mindset as people who are actually born and grown in the West and are brought up, you know, as victims or of this unjust system which has been created and functioning for the last 500-600 years. So even though they have their sporadic interactions with Europeans, say in the 16th century, etc., you know, where they know about the Portuguese and the Catholics and come to try and take their religion away and all of that. But outside of the religious, I think outside of the religious framework, I think the Ethiopian knowledge of the world until like now has been quite limited. So that man's attitude is not something which is it's not alien, you know. I mean,
even as the highest ranking official in the world, Ethiopian Toado Church.
well, that's a sad indictment, isn't it? That is a sad indictment, really, because and this is what they're doing, and that's the head of the church, and they're going around the world evangelizing the church. So when you see them evangelizing the church here in England, You know, you've heard me mention it before, you know, pure white images of Jesus all about the place. And I do understand that when they first brought the church come here in the 70s, there was a Father Thaddeus. One of my brethren always talks about this Father Thaddeus, and he said to them, never use the word Jesus Christ. It's Jesus Christus we're dealing with. It's not the same entity. That's what they were told. Yet now, you don't hear nothing but Jesus Christ amongst them. You know, especially the Caribbean,
Yeah, man.
clergy.
They find. Sorry.
Yes, I.
Yeah, it's true. They find it hard to use Jesus Christus. Sometimes, even though they say it's Greek or whatever, I just always say, man, come now, what all the Jesus Christ thing is about? We should have graduated by now. In
Yes,
fact,
but
we didn't even have to go down there because the people know who you're speaking of.
yes, but it's very strange that they've been going on with this whitewashing of the people's minds in Ethiopia, because they haven't taken Ethiopia by colonialism now. They've taken it through this changing of the people's mind, where they believe that these people in Israel are Jews, and they're not. And the whole thing is what I try, you know, I'm perfectly sure that the root of Judaism, or Hebrew, I should say, not Judaism, because Judaism is the later version. Hebrew is Ethiopian. It comes out of Africa and goes into the Middle East, because that was all part of the Northeast, was all Africa anyway. Ethiopia wasn't even Africa, it was Ethiopia, the Ethiopian continent. And there's no way that it has come the other way. That story of Azana and taking Ethiopia getting its Christianity from Rome, no, it's gone the other way. You know, definitely gone the other way, and you know, we can't go into that.
We're differently than the Christianity part. What you're saying, that the root of Hebrew, the language, or Hebrew, the people?
Hebrew, the people.
Is in Ethiopia, the place, or
in the Ethiopian
Africa?
continent.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to check.
Yeah, in the Ethiopian continent. And I'm quite convinced that there is a underlying spiritual, there's a spiritual umbrella of all the of the whole Ethiopian continent, with different cultural expressions, but of the same science, which fashions the what we know as what was written on the walls of Kemet, you know, like the archaeoastronomy, which is written on the walls of Kemet. And I know that it's not came from anywhere but out of the Ethiopian continent. I'm positive of that. So our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, they need to be more open-minded, or more rebellious, perhaps, because one thing I've read a book, and I'll introduce you to it right now. It's called Ethiopian Rastafari, and it's written by Esther Selassie Antohin. What's her name? Antohin. You know, it's His Majesty's granddaughter. You know, and she wrote a study on Ethiopians and Rastafari, and it's very interesting, because it's written from an Ethiopian perspective, and then the perspective of after the people had gone into exile into the States, etc. So the different mindset of the people, but she's been able to do a comparison, and obviously they're well educated. His Majesty's children and grandchildren are very well educated. So this is properly written in an academic form that you would read in a university, you know, that any doctor would write, or doctor of whatever sociology or whatever it is that she's used to write this subject. But I would like just read just a bit of it, right?
Of course. Yes, ma'am.
And this is from page 169 of this book. I don't know if the eye can see it. Ethiopia.
Yes, that's it.
And it says here, Ethiopianism had a broad appeal and was not restricted to blacks in the Western Hemisphere. Its ideas were manifested in the establishment of new African churches that grew throughout the sub-Saharan Africa, beginning in the 1880s, and were vital during the era of African independence. The Rastafarian movement, as those like it, was born in response to the crisis of African identity in the diaspora during the 19th and 20th centuries. The new immigrants to the United States and the second generation of Ethiopians of similar ages stand in marked contrast in how they view the natal home. We're talking about Ethiopia or the African continent.
Yes. Contrast. Sorry.
Stark contrast, yeah. A marked contrast, she says. They stand in marked contrast in how they view the natal home, the mother of the birth of Africa, our homeland. The new immigrants all express strong loyalties to Ethiopia and a sense of obligation to helping both the country and fellow citizens. However, those who were born abroad have no memories that would bind them. While they acknowledge their parents' home as part of their identity, they are highly unattached and have more in common with their diasporic affinities. There is a new trend among Ethiopian Americans to connect with the old country. In order to meet these new demands, Ethiopian churches and associations are developing Amharic instruction. Similarly, there is an increase in the frequency of volume of those visiting Ethiopia. In order to understand the Ethiopian community in the United States, one needs to look at the nature of ethnic composition and relation to the homeland. Historic and temporary Ethiopian ethnic makeup can be described as highly diverse and drawn on a variety of factors such as language, religion, and ancestry. Ethnic distinctions can be made up of one of these factors. Each region does contain a variety of these factors, and identify the group based on one factor does not accurately identify its ethnicity. For instance, a group may reside in Shoa, the Amhara region, yet based on religion may identify with the Oromo ethnic group. Similarly, a group may reside in Tigray, but based on language and ancestry may affiliate with the Amhara ethnic group. The use of race as identity markers exists. However, it must be considered differently from Western practice. So you see, they've got to look at this different. They've still got to look at the difference in, say, I don't even like the word ethnicity because they're all the same ethnicity. But, she's used ethnicity here. But really, the different colors of people, the different types, because the people down in the south, the Oromo people, are more African looking sometimes than the people up in the northern region. That is a fact. Anyway, despite the diverse social compositions in the natal home, one sees the difficulty Ethiopians face in adjusting to the racially polarized and ethnic plurality that overrides American society. The difficulty they face in large measure has to do with their historical isolation. Based on a survey conducted for the study, Ethiopians in the process of assimilating to the United States continue to use their ethnic identity in the diaspora, and they do this a number of practical ways. Their inclination to remain connected culturally is one of the defining features of this diaspora, while they do not have any special relationship with other ethnic groups. The relationship with Afro-Americans can be considered to be an important one. Even if at times it has been antagonistic, as seen in the recent debate between Afro-Americans and continental Africans. The Ethiopian relationship with Rastafarians can be described as complex. The Rastafarian cultural identity, which is founded on Ethiopian roots, is a subject that this study tries to unravel. Among the wide range of Ethiopian attitudes and perception of Rastafarians, this study uses interviews of Ethiopians to discuss the most prevalent points of contention. In summary, these disagreements are based on Rastafarians' use of Ethiopian historical symbols and cultural relics. For Rastafarians, these symbols serve as a means of constructing an ideal worldview within which the black race can reinvent a proud heritage and spiritual connection. Ethiopians express concern and even disdain that this activity is harmful and distorts and denigrates their past, while at the same time they are ambivalent about embracing their past and are in the process of reinventing or creating their imagined community. Recent events in Ethiopia demonstrate the new agenda set by predominantly by high-profile Rastafarians such as the widow of reggae superstar Bob Marley and his followers, focused on African unity. The events that took place in Ethiopia, spiritual homes of Rastafarians, have had a positive outcomes for Ethiopians who were direct beneficiaries. It would not be unreasonable to assume that this climate of cooperation, the two groups may have a good chance to resolve some of their differences as they work towards reconciliation in the future. Well, I won't go on any further, but that gives you a kind of broad, that little chapter, couple of paragraphs there gives you a broad view of the way that Rastafari people are perceived. When it's not only Rastafari, because it's black people in general. Because even though Rastafari people are who they're having a contact with, when they're in America, or if they're in England, wherever they may be, they still don't have that. Maybe the younger children do now. Maybe the younger generation growing up now, these children who are in school now. But prior to that, they wouldn't have the venom and the fire in their belly to even feel rebellious against these people, because they're getting asylum here. They've got history. They've come to white people's country. They can get a life of
yes,
peace.
yeah.
They're going to get a peaceful life, that's for sure. So these things fashion the brain, but it doesn't mean. But what I think Ethiopian people don't have, which people of the Caribbean have, and not only the Caribbean, of the Americas too, America and the Americas, is the fire in your belly for actually. It's a collective. A collective experience, which is actually in your DNA, which you're born with, which I don't think the Ethiopian people are born with that form of rebellion.
You don't think they're born with it?
Sorry?
You don't think they're born with it?
Well, no, because it's not ingrained in their DNA. Where it's
you don't think it's the
in
education that they get, or the lack of it?
Well, I mean, I've had many conversations with Ethiopian people, and educated people, and they're not really au fait. They're not really too. Generally, you can't say, obviously you can't generalize and know people, but the majority of people aren't up on their own history, because after the king, they kind of wiped out Ethiopian history
that's what I'm saying. Maybe because we know Ethiopians are very zealous people. So I was saying, because I myself come across Ethiopians who would tell you clearly, hey, we don't even know half of what you're talking about. They never taught us this in school. Even after the time of the Derg, it still never was reintroduced, our real ancient history. We just see this statue of Menelik II. We have a little idea, Battle of Adwa, but it doesn't really go anything beyond that. So the deep history that Rastafari, like what we be spitting out here, a lot of people in Ethiopia have no idea what you're talking about. And that's a serious thing. So I was just saying, maybe, because you know how important knowledge is, so the lack of it, that means maybe they just don't have a feeling towards it. As you said, many Ethiopians would have, even before They didn't have to come to the West. You're saying they looked at us different, is the way they were looking at us. But in a sense, how you were explaining it before, it's also the way they were looking at themselves. They never saw themselves as a part of the whole until maybe they had to leave Ethiopia and come to the West and realize, hey, you know what I mean, around here, just another nigga, you know. And they, and
Yeah.
sorry to say it like that, but you know how the world, and maybe they blend in. I was just saying, so maybe it's the lack of education.
Yeah, and also don't forget, it's only like 1975 is what, 50 years ago. It's not long, like for things to happen to a people, like it's not long for a people to become who have been assimilated to any society. 50 years is
A
nothing.
generation can do that.
Yeah, so there'll be maybe this younger generation coming through now. But people of I and I age, people like us, I mean, I think I've mentioned it to the eye before, when a woman died in Ethiopia, a sister, a daughter, her auntie was a lawyer, and her other aunt, and her other auntie worked for the UN, and all got big jobs, And so when I was there, I was speaking to them one day, and every month, I'm saying, oh, what do you think of Haile Selassie? They said, Haile Selassie, they said he eats people. they said, they said he eats people. They used to capture people off of the street back in the day and like take them and carry them and go eat them. I'm talking about lawyers and educated people. I mean, they were so damaged, again, I mean, and this woman must have been at like 50 years old or late 40s, you know what I mean? And she had that, and she had been to school, and her father alone was a governor, one of His Majesty's governors, Her father, the same woman
What are
who
you
said,
talking about?
yeah.
So, he was one that died in the like the massacre after her father.
No, I don't know I don't know how
How
her
he
father
came up.
died. I don't know, but he
So
was
you're
one.
telling me the daughter of one of the governors of Haile Selassie, who
Yeah,
herself now is what? An esteemed
lawyer
lawyer,
in America.
is telling you that back in the days they used to kidnap people and carry them home for Haile Selassie to fry down and eat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, it's right.
but that's the extent of brainwashing. I mean, that's a reality. I'm not making it up. Is an extent of brainwashing, you know. So when you see that, so is it surprising that you're going to hear like somebody like the good Abuna to say something like that? Because it's very restrictive to even think like that. You've got to be pretty narrow-minded. And how old is he? I mean, he must be like in his 60s, I would say, maybe 60s going on 70s. So,
Your
you know,
point is well made. Point well made there, But I was just saying, okay, like when they select the Pope, well, okay, at least the Pope of Rome. Okay, they have other popes. They have the Pope of the I think it's the Coptic, and so
yeah,
the Pope in Rome now.
mm,
The well, not the selection. We know how they do the selection. They say white smoke, black smoke. But from my understanding, I can't remember where I read it, or was it a lecture? But um, my understanding, and I've always carried this with me, so you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but the Pope is supposed to be a very well learned, as they say, learned
mm,
individual. Um, I don't know the exact requirements, but I think he's supposed to have several languages under his belt. Uh, just to be in the position to be a pope alone, you have to be up there.
yeah,
Because it's a smoke, it's black smoke or white smoke going to choose you. Some sort
mm,
of superstitious stuff. So outside of that, we need to make sure we have the high standing people. And again, I don't know the exact requirements, but you're supposed to be very knowledgeable and well versed in the arts, and again, language, and maybe even, maybe you should be able, the culinary skills too. So many different things that you need to have as this Pope and wise mind, from my understanding. So I'm saying, shouldn't be the same, or isn't it? Isn't it the same across the board? Or is, because I find it hard to believe that the good Abuna would not have had uh, the requisite knowledge of even our Ethiopians. Okay, for example, in Antigua, the Archmandrite Abba Gabriel Gabriel Eosos, I would have put this very same reasoning to him of what the Abuna Matthias of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church would have said. He never saw the video, but I explained it to him as clearly as I could. I showed him that, well, and he was with a brother Deacon Marcus, who was once a Rastafari, one of the early Rastafaris around here. For those who do not know, the Abba is from Ethiopia himself, Abba Gabriel Iosos. He has been in Antigua for about 10 years. So I told him, yeah, I was watching a video with the Abuna, and the Abuna was asked, why is it that Ethiopia has a different image to the Christ, the Black Christ, more so than the other Orthodox churches and churches in general? And his answer was that, well, he's not really for that. He believes that Jesus and his mother was white because they were Jews. And the Abba here said, no, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. Because the reason why I brought it up too is because they have a strong Afrocentricity about their Orthodox church. He's always talking about the blackness and Moses and all of that. So I brought it up. I said, well, your Bono was saying otherwise. And he said he disagrees. So I don't know where that, puts him or those who think like him with the church, because it's a doctrine. It's a to me, if the Abuna is saying, hey, yo, it's a white, he is a European, and they should not change it. It's like it's a law. They should not change him. They should leave him looking like that because he's Israel. So I don't know where that places him on that.
One thing I have noticed, Russ, I mean, the Caribbean, to be truthful, I mean, my experience in the church is that these priests here, the Caribbean priests who grew up in England, they're very gone. They're gone, brethren. You know what I mean? They're really gone to that white thing and the white Jesus thing. But the ones in the Caribbean seem to be, even if they come from Jamaica, I've been in the church and there's been a priest come from Jamaica, and they're more got a little Rastafarian flavor amongst their minds.
I hear you.
So that's a definite thing, And then there's the ones who are here who are trying to be more Ethiopian than the Ethiopians, and they make sure that they can fight against His Majesty and all of that. Spread propaganda in the church. They've done some wicked things, man. I tell you, in this country. But
England.
Yeah, in England, yeah. But in the Caribbean, they've definitely got a different flavor, I can tell you. But nevertheless, like you're saying, he's the head, he's the boss. And he's saying that. So that is dangerous. And that is why you can see probably why there's no problem with them flooding the place with white images.
Definitely.
And the thing is, one thing I wonder now is, now that the black icons have been uncovered, it's not that we need the Russians to tell us that Christ is black and all the people in the Bible is black people. We've been saying it for years. That's why we're Rastafari. But nevertheless, they open their archive in Russia, and everybody, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody's black. So now that they've been whitewashing the Ethiopian church, what are they going to do? Now they've found this archive of blackness. I wonder, like this is very interesting because this now is the Eastern Orthodox, which is actually split. The Russian Orthodox and the Greek Orthodox is not the same as the Tewahedo Church,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
you know. Yes, but they have got the evidence and they've brought it out, But they are actually, I mean, I think the Russian Orthodox, like you see, like the names like Tekla Iman and all of those things. I'm sure that they've got them names back around 11, 12, 1300. They've got some of the I can't remember. I'm not sure it's Tekla Iman or. But they got some names of some prolific names of the saints and people of the Ethiopian church. They've got their names at 11, 1200, where they're supposed to be way before then. You know what I mean? Like the saints of Ethiopia are not all supposed to be late. You know what I mean? There's supposed to be some early saints and all of that. But fifth, sixth century, from the 5th and 6th century, like the 9 saints. The
Yes,
9
yes,
Christians,
yes, yes. I follow you.
So these people in the
And that's in
Middle,
Russia you're talking. In Russia, they already
the
pushing.
Greek and Russians and the Ukrainians and all of that. But hear this now. In 2017, I actually went into a church and I saw, before there was ever a war in Ukraine, I saw a church in England here, and they had like a fundraising, they had like a memorial day, like saying about the Orthodox Church in Ukraine. And I'd only heard on the radio, not a couple time before, like why it stood out to me when I went into this church is why it stood out to me is because I'd heard on the radio that that the Ukrainian church wanted to break away from the Russian Orthodox. So before they had done anything about war in Ukraine, they were breaking the church. They were breaking the Ukrainian Orthodox Church away from the Russian Pope. The head of the Russian world. So when you see these things happening, you have to know that things are going to go on. So a war happened then, right? Well, they did the same thing in Ethiopia in 2022, 2023, on the 21st of January. The church split in two in Ethiopia. The Aroma wanted to break away from the central authority of the church, and it was backed by the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Then Protestants, they give them £250,000 to break away. Not pounds, $250,000.
He's a Roma too, right? He's in the has some kind of blend.
What was that?
The Prime Minister of Ethiopia.
Yeah. Well, he's a Protestant, right? He's a Protestant.
Yeah, right, but what I know I don't like to use the term ethnicity. What
he's a
people
Roma, he's a Romo and Amhara, I think. He's a mix.
Right. So what you're saying that they just edify us there. They broke away from the Orthodox Church to become Protestants, as we call it.
No. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Oromo people of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, wanted to break away from the Amharic
Orthodox Church
core of the church, because they want to do away with the Ethiopian Fidel. They want to use the Roman, like the letters of the Roman alphabet, to write their language. They want to do away with the Ge'ez and everything.
Okay, I get you.
And they were linked with it was linked to Italians. It was a kind of strange kind of thing going on there. And they but the Protestant, allegedly, I mean, I don't know if it's true. I mean, it's the only thing that you read and you hear. Allegedly, the Protestant Prime Minister, he pushes this. They've got some kind of what they got in America, like wealthy form of Christianity, some kind of worshipping money kind of thing. I don't know what they call that. They've got that thing going on there in Ethiopia. Economic
of course.
Christianity or something.
Prosperity doctrine,
something like that. Prosperity gospel, something like that. So they've got that going on. They've got that going on in Ethiopia, So the evangelical thing is spreading because it's got that kind of doctrine there behind it. And then
Like in
allegedly,
Ghana.
I don't know this true. Allegedly, the Oromo breakaway synod of the church received $250,000 US to break away. Yeah, I read it. I read that. That they
But that ain't
received.
no money. No.
So and then after a while they came back together. You know what I mean? They came back. They came back together
The
and
money done.
they were forgiven. But nevertheless, I'm showing you they're using other means to colonize the
True.
place.
True.
And
Of
and this
course.
and this Catholicism, as much as they're saying they're not Catholic and they're Tewahedo and they ain't Catholic and they've broken down the barriers where the Catholic influence is strong. Why are the white images if it's not that? You know what I mean? Where they coming from? And like good Abuna says, oh, they're white people. Well, that's a false, it's a false narrative, and the Ethiopian people have surely got to know it. But I must bring up a thing as well. I've got a sister, an Ethiopian sister, and I with about 6 weeks ago at the most, I was reasoning with her, and she said to me, she said, no Ethiopian can be a Rastafari. I said, why? She said they haven't been through the experience of black people, in the West. They haven't been through that same experience. They can't be Rastafari. I'm just showing you a mentality, I mean, I'm not saying I'm in agreement. I'm just showing you the mentality
Of
of the
course.
East
But I
that
know
is in,
Ethiopians that, yeah, true.
so that's another mentality what you have to deal with. So they're saying, well, you can't be Rastafari, so there's a distinct uh division between Rastafari and Ethiopian mindsets. Even this, and this is a friendly sister, not an enemy. She's a friendly sister, but that is her opinion. So I mean, but you can't take everybody's opinions as the same. Like you say, the mandrake there in Antigua has not got the same opinion as his boss.
Hmm.
But whether he would say that in front of his boss would be another thing. you know,
But
you know?
yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but it's a serious thing,
Yeah, yeah, good time. True. Yes, my Lord, give thanks for the moment. I think we would have to seal it. I think this discussion was necessary. It may have
Yes,
been one of them sharp, short and spicy one, but I think it hit to the point because really, again, as you said, and instead of really hitting just let's say the people that went into captivity, we were addressing the people, if you want to say that, didn't go into captivity, interestingly, and that's the Ethiopians, those who for years or decades, Rastafari was aspiring to, I guess, be like and to attain to wherever they were. And, in general, because of a lack of knowledge of self. That's really what it is to me, a lack of knowledge of self, because they're the people, if they had the knowledge of themselves, oh my, but a lack of knowledge of selves, we connect with them, but it is the knowledge of them that would have inspired us. You understand? Although
well,
we are one people, but the knowledge
yeah,
of, but because we in the West, we little different, we feed off of everybody. We feed off of we feed like we try to find a home. So we feed off of all the history, all the kings up and down Africa, all over. We don't really give ourselves a name. Some of us trace ourselves back and know, well, I'm more Hausa than Igbo, or I'm more Fandi than this, or I'm more Akan than the other thing. But most of us have no idea, but we just embrace Africa in general, a new type of cat, as they
yeah.
would say. Yes, my lord. And
Well,
you're
one
saying
thing,
any sealing words, you could seal the words one time too.
yes, yeah. Well, one thing I was going to say is that well, I was going to interrupt you there.
I think maybe I was talking about, the Ethiopians themselves. They themselves never went into captivity as such, yet still they're the ones that are not
Oh yeah,
knowledgeable of their own history. Yeah,
yeah. Well, they're
something
very.
like that.
I mean, and I must say, we mustn't. They're very fierce people to defend themselves. That still, we don't want to say that.
Of course.
We're not trying to denigrate the people at all. It's just that it's a different mindset. But one thing I would say is that one thing I noticed and what I actually felt is that the people who have gone into the Ethiopian church, the Rasta people who have gone into the Ethiopian church, they all want to be Ethiopians. And the Ethiopians they want to be like are the people who don't love His Majesty. They're the people who fight against His Majesty in the majority. Or if they don't fight against him, they certainly don't acknowledge him. Oh, he's just a king. He's just a king. He's nothing. So and when ones are trying to emulate the Ethiopians, when we're learning the language and we're learning everything how to be like Ethiopians, which we want to be, we want to worship like them, we want to follow the king. And then you find you're following the people who don't love His Majesty. So I find that a contradiction personally. I don't want to follow them and don't love His Majesty. I'd rather love His Majesty and alienate them if possible, not if possible, but if necessary.
Well, let me ask
Because
you quickly. Even in closing, you can answer this. Do you think it could be a bit of manipulative politics too? Like purpose, like politics. I mean, religion is politics, eh? Belief is politics. Maybe the Abuna may not be misled. Maybe he just feel like, listen, right now, I rocking with this side. Yeah.
well, it could be that. And one thing I always question as well is that, for instance, they rebuilt the house for the Ark of the Covenant in Axum. And there was
Yes,
a
yes.
brother, he's a Caribbean brother. I don't know if you know of him. He comes from Montserrat. And he was, they asked him to get involved in building the new building for the Ark of the Covenant in Axum. Well, don't forget,
It's an extension, right?
no, I think he built another one. Built another one.
Not in the same yard.
He wrote a book about it. He done a book publishing, a book publishing here at Fairfield House. He released his book, like he did a book launch at the Fairfield House, and and it was the story of the keeper of the Ark of the Covenant, the keeper of the Ark. Is this story 12 lessons from the Ark of the Covenant or something like that is the name of his book. Can't remember. He's an Irish brethren, but he went and done that work, and they asked him to, get together and gather money and rebuild this thing. I think he started with just building the roof, I think, but then he ended up building a whole new building. Well, what I wonder when they're doing these things and they're asking Rastafari to help them do these things, what's wrong? Why didn't they fix Empress Menin's building, St. Mary of Zion? Why did they build a new one? Are they taking the ark out of the power of His Majesty and Empress Menen? These are the questions I ask. I'm not saying that it is that, but it's questionable. Like now they want Rastafari to help fix you've probably seen it going around, fix the Trinity Cathedral, what His Majesty built, and they've put an appeal out, $1.2 million they want to help fund the restoration of it. What is it? Yeah, remember about Kidis Selassie, and they've put out a thing, and there's Rastas all over the world collecting money to restore the church. Well, one thing I say is that when you're a Ras or a foreigner, according to Ethiopians, you're a foreign G, which is everyone who's not Ethiopian. When you need to go in that church, you have to pay the priest to open the door. Then I go open the door and they should pay them. You know, I'm talking about if you're Orthodox people, you know, you say, oh, we're Orthodox. How are you going to, you need to pay them to go in there. And I'm just putting that out there. That's a disgrace. You know, and then they're asking Rasta people for money. Okay, you know, well, I've put money in. Personally, I've made a contribution. But I'm not really happy that with it, because why am I not happy? Because because I read the letter. That they actually put out, the original letter which they put out, right, to gather money. I don't know if I've got it here. I just want to show the item something, right? And people probably want to fight against me to say I'm fighting against the church. I'm not fighting against the church. What I don't like is where they fight against His Majesty. And I'll just show you something, what it says here, right? Let me think where it is.
Yes, give thanks, family. Make sure you press that thumbs up button, you know, and get all the likes up, and so we can get the video getting around. Even share the link, although we're almost done, still share the link so someone could see it later.
But anyway, what it says in the letter, the original letter for the person who they wanted to send to do the fundraising, his name was, oh, I can't remember his name anyway. But what they said is that they trust him to keep obviously the teachings of the church, but you know, like, but more or less it was under coded. I haven't got it here to read to you, but I will show it to the eye, where it says, you know, the wording of that letter, where they want like to keep the proper, not only the teachings of the church, like within the boundaries of their of the doctrine of the church, you know, because if you're asking Rastafari for money, we don't say His Majesty is just a king, and His Majesty is divine, He's the Almighty. And they want to keep it within their framework of thought. It says it in that letter. I can't remember the words now, but I'm just paraphrasing what it's saying. It's saying, keep it within the doctrine of what we're teaching with a white Jesus. That's all I want to say. And that, you know, and people want to probably fight against me for saying the truth, but it's the truth. You know, if I wish I had been prepared, I would have read it to you. You know, read it to the item and let you see what it is. I mean, not I'm fighting the church, but they've overthrown His Majesty. You know, the church has overthrown His doctrine. They've changed it, and that's the truth. And you know, why should we not speak about it? You know, that's why we're Rastafari. You know, so we can speak about these things. You know, and make them stand up and even give us an answer. They want us to give money to the church. Well, okay. We'll help you with the church, but we want the truth about Rastafari. Rasta Adonis has just come forward. Yeah, the truth is what I is dealing with, you know. So you know, and it's not the right thing what they're dealing with there. I don't think so, you know. So I'll seal it up there anyway, brethren and family. I'll give thanks for the word sound.
My Lord.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ras.
Yes. Hold on for a moment. I'm listening to the item directly right here, you know?
Yes,
sir. Give thanks for thanks for still coming in.
Can we revisit this, my brother? Yo, I salute the eye, man. I really salute the eye right here. Yeah, I'm bringing this forward right here because we have posted. Hold on, let me turn on this background. I was here, yeah. We had posted this, I think 2 to 3 years ago. He was on this show. And we, I think this about Africa, this British, I forget her name right now, British reporter that was going around to different parts of Africa, and she went to Ethiopia and she met with him and asked him, you probably have the same clip, but no one really picked up on it. So I salute, you know, the Holistic Institute, you know, the Priest and the Institute for addressing addressing, this particular subject matter. I would love to revisit it. Was watching the eye as well, Ras Safer, Selassie. I got to hear a couple of things. It was brought to my attention. I missed this. I wasn't available, but just wanted to jump on to let the eye know I'm with the eye on the reason, and it's an important reason to reason on. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
sir.
man, give thanks, man. Give thanks. Powerful, powerful. And I know you'll be on at 10 o'clock, so I know you're just sharpening this.
Yeah, actually at 10:30, like on Mondays, it's like a half hour later.
All right, give thanks to Well, I give thanks. Well, as they say, we'll have to revisit it. We were actually trying to jump off several times before you jumped in there. But oh my.
I then was still here just for a moment to let the eye know, I salute this work. It's an important discussion. Very, very important.
And we did run that same clip and heard his voice and with clarity. So we said we had to touch it, the psychological level of this and the impact that it could have. But I think Rasta Selassie definitely expressed that good too. The psychological impact that it can have, especially as it's a shepherd really speaking to the sheep. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was really the level. But my Lord, give thanks still, as I said, Thursday, we hope we come in again Thursday, with the full house, hopefully. And this was a bit impromptu, but the space was just like available. I said, yeah, man, let's try do it here. But we give thanks still, man. Give thanks for the day coming in, and I know most of us will be with you on Rastafari Israelites. And that, of course, is on the YouTube. But tomorrow evening, though, I'm going to send out the link if I would be thankful for the round table to sit with myself and the Honorable Priest Kailash Leons. He's going to come and give us a reasoning on health and wellness. And of course, we could pitch a few questions to him as well after his presentation. It should be a joyful event. That's tomorrow at 8 until 9:30. Priest Kailash Leons from the Mount Kailash Rejuvenation Center will be with us, and he will be speaking of health, wellness, focusing on the man. So I'm going to send the link for the item too, So ones could look forward, the full round table will be with us sitting in, and we'll be able to pitch their questions to the Honorable Priest. So it's going to be a nice time.
Huge thanks. Russ,
Beautiful.
excuse me, Russ. One thing, brother.
Yes, my Lord.
Let me just read these 2 lines from this fundraising thing, please.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Of course.
I was just talking about there. I was saying these are the conditions where they're collecting money. Right, and it says, we kindly request your assistance in utilizing your resources. This is to the priest who initially they gave this letter to. Assist in utilizing your resources to channel donations through the appropriate avenues as prescribed by our tradition. We advise that all fundraising efforts be coordinated in consultation with our esteemed fundraising committee chairperson, and it says his name, listen to this now, ensuring adherence to our church's traditions and principles. You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Our church's traditions and principles. Now, is the worship of Kadamawi Haile Selassie any of the church's traditions or principles? That's my question to the Rastafari world.
Yeah. Yes, Rastafari, give thanks. And salamta and peace and blessings.